Hello again. Well, I voted on Tuesday and was still excited about it Wednesday morning and wrote this post. Still in the game. It happened to be the day we were finishing up one of the better books we have read in environmental ethics. We finished Falter. It would be nice to think we were all about to finish faltering as a democratic nation under siege of pandemic political chaos and climate denial/indifference. For a brief while yesterday, queuing to vote in the pleasant morning Middle Tennessee sunshine outside the Bellevue branch of the Metro Public Library, I believed. The simple act of casting a ballot feels constructive and empowering, the very opposite of faltering. It feels like moving forward. The feeling would linger if only we could lose the electoral college that effectively denies some of us proportionate representation. Ranked choice voting in the primaries would be good too. But never mind for now. Yesterday was all about the invigorating sense of democratic dignity that free people expressing their will in free and fair elections still for now get to enjoy in this country. Conjuring Chris Stevens' invocation of Einstein, as we were in class previously, versus Randian selfishness, from the memory vault, I've also recalled his paean to democracy in little fictional Sicily, Alaska. That was the best show ever on network television, in my opinion, Northern Exposure. Chris said, "You see, the act of voting is in itself the defining moment." Chris was the radio DJ, philosopher, and former felon, who therefore did not get to vote and appreciated the franchise all the more. He said, "Well, I just want to applaud you all for plunging headfirst into the great river of democracy." And then he read a haiku that nobody in Sicily understood. But never mind. Here's what he said that should signify for us this year especially. He said, "My friends, today when I look out over Sicily, I see not a town but a nation's history written in miniature. We exterminated untold indigenous cultures and enslaved generations of Africans. We basically stained our star-spangled banner with a host of sins that can never be washed clean. But today we're here to celebrate the glorious aspects of our past, a tribute to a nation of free people, the country that Walt Whitman, exalted. The genius of the United States is not best or most in its executives and legislators, nor in its ambassadors or authors or colleges or churches or parlors, nor even in its newspapers or inventors, but always most in the common people. I've never been so proud to be a Sicilian. I must go out now and fill my lungs with the deep, clean air of democracy." That was from Northern Exposure's third season, the 15th episode, called Democracy in America. And I no doubt will be referencing it in the spring when I teach my Master of Liberal Arts course at MTSU called Democracy in America. A lung full of freedom is bracing. Breathe deep. Vote. Resist democracy's destabilizers and dismantlers while you can. The great game of self-governance has never, in my lifetime, felt so imperiled or more worth fighting for. But as Bill McKibben acknowledges in Falter, resistance comes at a cost. "I know so many people," he says, "who have given over the prime of their lives to this fight." But he also knows many people who found their lives in this work, in burgeoning movements that are full of love and friendship. The tired cliche about finding meaning and purpose in causes larger than oneself is not wrong. The vivifying and ennobling benefits of personal and shared commitment is real. Resistance may be frustrating and may finally fail, but it's not futile. Remember Grantland Rice, Murfreesboro's own. A game well played is its own reward. You don't have to fly the W to be a winner at life. Still, though, to lose democracy, humanity, and Gaia to indifference and inattention would be tragic and stupid. resisting the apathy and amused-to-death distraction that permit the plutocrats to plunder the planet for personal profit, is in that light not radical or subversive. You might even call it conservatism, as McKibben does, if that word weren't already so tainted and co-opted. But it is conservative to want and work for a world where people are connected to the past and future and to one another, instead of turned into obsolete software, like apparently Ray Kurzweil and the transhumanists and post-humanists and techno-utopians dream of doing. Solidarity simply means the greatest happiness for the greatest number. Ask the Scandinavians, who consistently top the World Happiness Report. In 2018, the USA was number 18 on that list. If we say we believe in humanity, that should embarrass us. Ray Kurzweil's post-human vision of spiritual human machines, human hybrids, with all the time in the world to cultivate music, literature, beauty, and artistic expression, sounds humane, sounds utopian, maybe even Marxist, to humans. How will it sound to our post-human successors? But, says Todd May in a piece in the New York Times, without mortality, our lives would eventually become shapeless. If we lived forever, it would be difficult to sustain our enthusiasm even for many of our most significant engagements. We'd be bored out of our skulls. Would we have skulls? With time slowed to the pace of birds plucking sand grains from the Sahara. No, we'd best learn to embrace the approaching shore. Chris Stevens' phrase, embrace the distant shore, people, our mortal journey is over all too soon. We'd best learn to embrace the approaching shore while still pursuing our projects, our engagements, orient toward the future while immersing in the present. What did Camus say? Real generosity towards the future lies in giving all to the present. And John Dewey, the things in civilization we most prize are not of ourselves. They exist by grace of the doings and sufferings of the continuous human community, in which we are a link. Ours is the responsibility of conserving, transmitting, rectifying, and expanding the heritage of values we have received, that those who come after us may receive it more solid and secure, more widely accessible and more generously shared than we have received it. That was the last line in A Common Faith, and it is the inscription on John Dewey's gravestone marker. And William James, the solid meaning of life is always the same eternal thing. The marriage, namely, of some unhabitual ideal, however special, with some fidelity, courage, and endurance, with some man's or woman's pains. And whatever or wherever life may be, there will always be the chance for that marriage to take place. That from What Makes a Life Significant. Or as McKibben says, our job is to keep the human game going through our time and to pass it on. The game just now calls for no magic technological breakthrough, just our best efforts to continue scaling up renewable energy, eat lower on the food chain, build public transit networks, densify cities, and so on. That's how we'll reshape the zeitgeist and shift culture to sustainability. It's helpful to recall that Nixon didn't necessarily want to sign the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, the Endangered Species Act, and all the rest back in 1970. He was compelled by dedicated activists out to conserve the earth. The mere act of gathering them is an antidote to despair. Maturity is a good word when understood to mean growing up, as opposed to just growing. J.S. Mill's remarks on the leveling of growth would surprise most libertarians these days, suggesting that the art of living only really matures when we stop devoting the bulk of our energies and resources to just getting on and accumulating ever more material wealth. So why grow up? Because, as we're about to read in Ko-Fi, Susan Neiman's book of that title, that's what it means to live in the light. Maturity is a condition of success in the climate fight and in any game worth playing. McKibben seems to think growing up means we ought not to go into space, even to Mars, agreeing with Kim Stanley Robinson that it's pernicious to suppose we can just use up this planet and then go find another to despoil. But can't we boldly go in the spirit of exploration and maturity, not mere consumption? A mature conversation about that still needs to be had, I think. Are most of us, most of the time, really pretty wonderful, as McKibben says near the end of his book? Well, that's generous. And then the last thing he says, even especially in its twilight, the human game is graceful and compelling. Well, sometimes it is. There was another presidential debate last night that might challenge that claim. McKibben's last words are elegiac, but a mature response to them will keep us in the game at least a while longer. Let's play 7. Go Rays. And then let's go back to spring training. Got this in Arizona. Just like the day before they canceled spring training and postponed the season. But it's going on now. And it'll go on in the future if we keep the game going. I will talk to you later.